Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome into the channel. It's your boy, World of Wrestling, here to discuss about WWE Monday Night Raw, November 4th, 2024 review. Um, Thankfully, I didn't watch the show live. I didn't watch Monday Night Raw live. I actually went ahead and watched the Kansas City Chiefs and Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, and boy, was it a fucking exciting game. Very close game. Buccaneers gave the Kansas City Chiefs a run for their fucking money. Unfortunately, the Chiefs ended up beating the Bucks 30-24, depending on what side of the coin you were rooting for. If you were rooting for the Chiefs, well, then you were very fortunate. If you were a Bucks fan, well, unfortunately, you lost. But you lost two of your best receivers on the team, so it's to be expected. But they gave them a hell of a run for their money, as I expected. I was kind of wondering if the Bucks were going to be the first team to beat the Chiefs this year, but that was unfortunate for them. They were not able to do so. Chiefs are now playing the Denver Broncos next week. That game should be interesting. Denver could be a threat. I mean, this is a divisional rivalry, so anything can happen in those kind of games a lot of times. But yeah, that was what I was doing Monday night. But immediately after the game was over, I ended up watching the Monday Night Raw episode and caught the whole 2 hours, skipped all the commercials, which is kind of nice. And my thoughts on the show was it was a Saudi show, so not didn't have exactly high hopes of the show being any good. And yeah, I thought the show was fair, but not great. Um, Good wrestling. I will admit that there was some good wrestling. Not to mention, we had some really awesome story developing with Sami Zayn. I mean, people are saying that this is being rushed. I don't think so. I mean, you just have so much time to build to leading into War Games. So, like, at this point, Roman Reigns needs all the help he can get at this point. Between Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, he needs the help of those guys originally that created the Bloodline. That's where I think this story needs to go, which is exactly what they're going to do. We kickstarted the show though with Liv Morgan celebrating as the new women's crown jewel champion, getting all excited about being the first time ever crown jewel women's champion. It's not all that big of a fucking deal, honestly. I don't think that the match was any good. As I mentioned, my other live stream that just happened a few moments ago. And yeah, I think that this was terrible of a match. And the whole crown jewel concept I thought was idiotic and didn't really fit my care for excitement going into Crown Jewel, but I guess they wanted to give a reason to have the fucking pay-per-view event outside of treating it like what it was, a pay-per-view event. So, we had a matchup or a moment where Liv Morgan was celebrating, blah, blah, blah. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill was celebrating about retaining their tag team titles. One thing led to another through the blabbering bullshit. But she mentioned Liv Morgan mentioned a few things. One about Rhea Ripley. She pretty much gave us reference that once she returns from her injury, whether it's storyline or real, she's actually going to go ahead and pretty much be facing her with that commentary. How she's not interested anymore in the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. She's on the Liv Morgan World Tour. and she's pretty much going to go around defending her title, defeating everybody, beating them, and proving that she's the greatest women's world champion of all time. I'm sorry, but I fail to believe that that is really true, that you're the best women's world champion of all time. But that's not here or there. We're not going to debate that because who cares? Anyway, so the other thing that was addressed that I think we're going to see some sort of storyline change with Bianca Belair or Jade Cargill turning heel. One of them are going to turn heel. Now, she mentions Bianca Belair turning on Jade Cargill's back. That could be true. We could see Jade Cargill turn heel. She could be fed up of being treated, having to carry around a lackey like Jade Cargill. She may not be interested in doing that anymore. And she may be tired of it and say goodbye. Probably will happen around the Royal Rumble. They're going to compete over trying to get the Royal Rumble win, and then one of them is going to eliminate the other, which in that point is going to turn them heel or something like that. So that's what I think is going to happen there. Personal thoughts about all of this. I think that I honestly think that it should be a good one. I think Jade Cargill turning heel would be a lot better. So yeah, I kind of look forward to seeing Bianca Belair turning heel here and mopping the floor with Jade Cargill eventually in the future. Another note to mention that during the show, we actually had mention of Goldberg being announced. He's going to be having a retirement match in 2025. I think that's going to be at WrestleMania 41 against Gunther for the World Championship. I think Gunther is going to be the guy to beat Goldberg. It makes the most reasonable sense since these two had a face-to-face confrontation with one another. I think that is the match we are going to see Gunther have at WrestleMania. And I think that's a huge win, honestly, because God knows Bray Wyatt's character was buried in Saudi Arabia on account of Goldberg. I highly doubt Gunther is going to be suffering the same fate. So, just my personal opinion there, but I think that's the retirement match Goldberg is going to be going after is a world title opportunity against a guy like Gunther, and Gunther is going to mop the floor with him and beat him to retain his world championship at WrestleMania. So there you go. What else? A lot of stuff happened. We had the main event to crown the number one contender for the world championship. Damian Priest ends up winning that match in the main event, beating Dominic Mysterio, pinning him to the mat, and walking away victorious, while Bronson Reed destroyed Sheamus and Seth Rollins and putting Seth Rollins through a fucking announce table to finish his night. So he was done. So I like the little Bronson Reed implication there. I think we are going to see Bronson Reed, Seth Rollins parking lot brawl at Survivor Series. That's what I'm hoping we get. Something of a little bit of a different type of match that we haven't seen in a very long time. And see this take place outside in a parking lot. That's what I'm hoping. Seth Rollins did give kudos to Bronson Reed before their matchup. So kudos to Seth Rollins giving some credibility to Bronson Reed's character. Thought that was pretty nice touch creatively. We had a battle royal, though, that led after the Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan confrontation. This match was long drawn out, this battle royal. Io Sky, though, ends up winning the match. Liv Morgan ended up screwing Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill in this matchup, giving them an opportunity to challenge for the one of them getting a world championship shot. Next, we had Kathy Kelly backstage with the New Day. She mentions that the War Raiders became #1 contenders for the World Tag Team titles last week. Xavier Woods says they should have won the match, but Chad Gable got involved, leading to War Raiders' victory. And Kofi Kingston doesn't seem to agree with that version of events. Kingston says the Raiders didn't win straight up. Woods says Kingston dropped the ball and then began to bicker. So there you go. Next, we had the Wyatt Sticks interrupt the broadcast, and the Miz is shown tied up in a chair, and his mouth is duct taped. This was probably the best segment of the night, my personal opinion. Bo Dallas rips the tape off of his mouth, and then Miz says he's not with the Final Testament. This is a big misunderstanding. Dallas laughs and says they don't want the Final Testament. They want the Miz. They showed glimpse of past history of the Miz talking to Mr. Perfect's son. I forgot his name. I think it was Kurt Hennig. No, that's his father's name. Or he might have Kurt Hennig as well. But yeah, Kurt Hennig's son and Bo Dallas saying that they would be turned into mega stars being with the Miz, and he'd show them the ropes. And basically the storyline about this is you mislead people. You're a man who talks a lot of stuff but has nothing to back it up with. You're not a leader. You don't care. You're self-centered. You don't give a shit. That is the premise of the Wyatt Six. They play the anti-hero type of look. They look like the Antichrist. In reality, they're kind of doing God's work. If you want to get crazy. They're pretty much stating they don't like liars. They don't like people who pretend to act like they're this or they're that. They're full of themselves, false prophets, false this or false leaders, whatever you might be, being false about it, not really being anything but a self-centered prick. They're coming for you. And that's pretty much what the Wyatt Six want with The Miz. It makes all perfect sense in the world. Not to mention the Final Testament with Karrion Kross is very good. I think that would have been a better direction, but this is a good little point to start at. And then we get to Karrion Kross's group and the Wyatt Six. I think that's a direction that you go with. So, just my feelings on that. But I like this. This is actually a really good move creatively, and I think that they're going the right way with this. But they need to revert back to the Final Testament as well, because there's a lot of story to be told there. Karrion Kross and his group really deserve to get some TV time. They are very... Karrion Kross is underutilized, underestimated, very creative. May not be the greatest wrestler in the whole wide world. I actually liked Karrion Kross when he was Killer Kross in TNA. He was really good then. What isn't utilized correctly there either. And I just think that he's misused on a lot of shows. Different promotions that he's in. So anyway, Miz will crawl on his belly and throw horns and thistles. Miz will beg and plead for mercy until he returns to the ground. Miz is dust, and to dust he will return. Dexter Lumis, dressed as Mercy the Buzzard, emerges and grabs Miz, but the camera cuts out before we see anything else. I love these fucking vignettes by the Wyatt Six. Great stuff. Great stuff. Love it. And for them to even be shown at a Saudi show is just fucking unreal. Not like they were live or anything in person, but still, very cool shit. Next, we had a tag team match with the New Day versus the War Raiders. Nothing to be expected here except for the War Raiders to win their match. And that's that. Decent little match. Nothing really important happened, though, outside of the New Day continuing to lose. Kingston gets in the ring after the match is over and does not look happy with Woods. And that's how they end that. Sami Zayn is found walking backstage to head to the ring and discuss about what happened. So Sami Zayn comes out, asks for Jey Uso to come out. He talks Arabic to the crowd for a little bit before he initiates Jey Uso to come out. Jey Uso comes out afterwards and pretty much explains that he was doing it for Jey Uso, not for the rest of the bloodline. And then he cares about him. He thinks he's a good friend, and he's always valued him. So Jey Uso comes out. He tells him, "Look, I was wrong for what I said to you last week." Well, that was later in the promo, but I'll say it now. He felt wrong for saying what he said last week about saying that they're not family. They may not be blood, but they are family regardless. That's what he told to Jey Uso during this promo, or Jimmy Uso, excuse me. And Sami Zayn told him, he said, "Look, I apologize to, he cares about Jey Uso, but the rest of the bloodline, he's not interested in being involved in this." Jimmy comes out. He says, "Look, man, this guy is a traitor. I saw him talking to Solo Sikoa. He did this deliberate. Roman's pissed. I'm pissed. We don't want to deal with Sami Zayn at all." And Sammy agreed. He said, "I don't want to deal with this either. I don't want to be sitting here on trial. My loyalty being judged again like it was before." And he says, "Every time the four of us are in the ring together, it's a moment for 1 minute and then it all crumbles." He said to Jay, he said, "I'm sorry, but I can't be a part of this. I'm out. I'm done. I can't deal with this drama no more." As he's walking away, Jay explains to Jimmy, he says, "Look, man, that guy is family. And yeah, I know what I said last week, but I didn't mean it in that sense. He is family, not by blood, but he is family as a friend." And he said, "Sammy, I want you to come to SmackDown with me and Jimmy next week, discuss this and squash this beef with Roman Reigns." So now we're squashing beef with Roman Reigns. And I don't know how this is going to play out, make any perfect sense. This is going to have to at least take 2 weeks worth of time to actually give us any kind of care or belief making sense of this. The only thing I could see that makes sense for Sammy to forgive Roman and Roman to pretty much be done with this whole "I'm above everyone else" mentality is he actually goes out there and sacrifices or helps Sami Zayn in a one-on-one match with Solo Sikoa in a main event of SmackDown. That could happen this coming Friday. That might actually occur. And if that was to occur and Roman comes out and he backs up Sami Zayn after he's getting a fucking 4-on-1 beat down and shows up and helps him with the Usos, and he picks him up and he says, "You know what? This shit's done." They shake hands, and that's that. And we move on to building towards the War Games match. Great. The other option is we have this kind of push outwards with the Roman Sami Zayn squashing the beef factor being kind of drawn out, which it can. It's possible. And then by I'd say the week before Survivor Series on a SmackDown show, we get Sami Zayn to Sammy and Roman Reigns to forgive one another after he had a match with Solo Sikoa, or they could do this on Monday Night Raw and have Sami Zayn have this match, and then Roman shows up on Raw to help Sammy overcome the odds. That's another way they could do it too. Just saying. But yeah, I enjoyed this segment. Very good segment, by the way. Well told, thought out segment. And y'all, Sammy also pointed out Jimmy and what he has done over the years. I mean, costing Jey Uso from winning a world title opportunity on his own, kicking him in the face, kicking Jey in the face, even kicking Roman Reigns in the face. He said that you betrayed everybody in this group, and the only person that really's trust should be judged is yours, honestly. And the funny thing is, you brought me in to this family liking me and thinking I was a swell dude. And then in the end, you disliked me because I ended up doing what I did to Roman Reigns. So then you started to hate me, which is understandable, I guess. But still, I mean, they wanted him to beat the living tart out of Kevin Owens. Come on. Couldn't ask him to do that. I mean, he might have been an enemy, but it's just, to him, it was going too far. But yeah, this was a great segment. I enjoyed it. Look forward to what SmackDown has to offer with this this Sami Zayn Roman Reigns saga bullshit. See where this goes. All right. Next, we had Rollins complimenting Bronson Reed. I've already covered that. Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable. Best match on the entire night for Monday Night Raw. Unfortunately, Chad Gable lost. I think Chad Gable should have won this match. Chad Gable takes nothing but L's, but has good matches. Don't quite understand that. I don't know how you can be called a you're treated like a jobber, but yet you have great matches. Don't quite get that, but it is what it is. Great match, though. Awesome match. Dragon Lee performed well. So did Chad Gable. But unfortunately, they lost. Next, we had Gunther backstage being interviewed. This was a good segment. I absolutely fucking love this segment. This was an excellent segment. Jackie Redmond's backstage with world champion Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. She says Saturday didn't go well for Gunther, but wants to know. I lost my place. Wants to know what he thinks about Cody Rhodes. Kaiser starts shouting about Rhodes, but Gunther cuts him off. Gunther says he might disagree on things with Rhodes, but he didn't get lucky and isn't undeserving. Rhodes was the better man. She asked Gunther about the competitors in the Fatal 4-Way, who he wants to become the number one contender. Gunther says there are 3 amazing competitors, and then there's Dominic Mysterio. Thought that was funny. Gunther says that Kaiser didn't take care of Sheamus. It's on Gunther to do better. And Gunther then looks at Kaiser and says they both need to do better. So he's basically very humble in this segment. I love this. This was great. You take a situation where it didn't mean a damn thing for him to win a match or lose a match, and you turn it into a positive. You give it purpose. He doesn't sit there and act like he's the king shit after he just lost a match that was a clear error on his part. Didn't pay attention that his shoulders were touching the mat while he was trying to do a sleeper hold on Cody Rhodes, and he ends up losing the match altogether. in a very good matchup, and he lost clean. This was the best thing creatively they could do for Gunther. This is going to turn Gunther into a much better champion. That's what I think the direction of this is going to go. He's going to lead into being even a better champion and possibly even a future babyface as world champion. Possibility. But does he need to be a babyface? I don't think so. I don't even think it's necessary. So yeah, that's where I think they're going with that. But yeah, great stuff. I enjoyed that very much. Thought that was an excellent segment, and Gunther looked really good in this promo. The way he was speaking, the way he felt, he just felt discouraged of himself. He felt like he made a clinical error that cost him a match that he clearly could have won had he paid attention to what was going on in the ring. He just lost. That's it. Plain and simple. Great. Great stuff. Creatively. Then the main event came on. I already discussed that. Damian Priest wins the matchup and becomes the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. I'd imagine this match is going to take place at Survivor Series, and I'd imagine the Women's World Championship is going to take place at Survivor Series. I think we're going to only see one War Games match, maybe two. From what I've heard from JD from New York 206, there are discussions about feuds taking place on the women's side of things in the NXT portion of things. We may see a women's NXT War Games match based off of the storylines being developed there on that brand. I don't watch NXT, so I don't care. But if it happens to be a good match and it fits in with the card and it elevates the pay-per-view, by all means, I'm all for it. But do I care to see two War Games matches on one pay-per-view event? Not really. One's good enough for me. So I think I like the idea of them creating world championship matches, having that plus the War Games match. We haven't seen championship belts being defended. I mean, like the world championship, the women's championships, that kind of shit, seeing defended on Survivor Series every year for the last couple of years, actually, especially with the best of Raw, best of SmackDown facing each other one-on-one with all their champions facing each other, plus a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. I mean, that just goes so far for so long, it just gets boring as shit. So, yeah. But that's just my thoughts, guys. I enjoyed some of this, but it wasn't that big of a fucking deal. Especially if you're watching it live, it probably would bore the shit out of you, taking the excitement out of you. But when you watch it pre-recorded, like you recorded it, and then you go back and watch it, and you're skipping through the commercials, makes it go by so fast. You don't even really pay that much of attention to it. But I do see some of the comments about Raw being kind of a blast show, not being a shit show, but kind of just more like, nothing really happened here. Who cares? Type of mentality. It wasn't like the show was a complete garbage fest. But I do see the point and what people are saying. But when you got the ability to fast forward through the commercials and everything, it makes the show go by so much quicker. And with it being 2 hours, you're only watching an hour and 30 minutes worth of content. So it's like a short 90-minute movie or something like that. So it goes by quick. But yeah, I thought this was a fairly decent show, but it wasn't the greatest show I've seen Raw being produced this year. So they got some work to do. And yeah, that's just my viewpoint on that, guys. So at this time, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great night, guys. Bye.